He said to me, you know, there's no place for women in the ambulance. That was like a red rag to a bull for me. I'd never driven a 2-ton vehicle, but I thought I'll have a go anyway. No, I'll show you, I can do this. I became a big picture person, so I've been drawing since I could hold a pencil. There was a few naysayers because people didn't work from home then. It was like, when you're going to get a real job. I was deadly serious. Employ on their personality, not on their skill set. Once your business is about money, you will fail. Don't be the most interesting person in the room. Be the most interested person in the room.
Just because you meet someone networking doesn't mean you're necessarily going to do business with them or even be friends with them.
For me, in 19 years, I have never been treated so badly. Work hard and work silently and let your success be your noise.
Hello everyone, my name's Graham Strang and I hope my younger self is listening. Today's guest is someone with a deep connection to rural life, incredible resilience and a razor-sharp creative mind. Natalie Fogarty is the founder of Vigour Graphics and has spent nearly 2 decades building a business that combines passion, grit and clarity of purpose. From being the first female paramedic in Toowoomba to growing a thriving graphic design studio and launching new ventures, Natalie's journey is inspiring, raw and real. Natalie, welcome to the Hard Way podcast.
Thank you, Graham.
You ready to get right into it?
I am.
So from all the information you gave me, and I've mapped this out pretty well, and hopefully from previous ones I've got this laid out right. Your upbringing is on cattle properties in New South Wales that helped shape you into being early self-sufficient, hardworking and being grounded. Can you tell us more how your childhood gave you the foundation to start doing what you're doing today?
I think that the reason why I am an entrepreneur and a serial entrepreneur is because of growing up on the land meant that you had to think for yourself, occupy yourself. You were able to think of ingenious ways to come up with not only entertainment but to solve problems. And I think that leads to me to being a problem solver and someone who is excited for the next challenge.
Isn't it amazing how the creativity comes into it? So from my background, we would disappear and see mum at dark,
Yep.
if she was lucky. But I can remember with motorbikes and going and stealing the loader and making our own jumps and things and playing inside empty tanks and all that sort of stuff. Just to my sister, she was phenomenal into making things pretty. So whether she was making her own garden beds and coloured rocks and all those sorts of things, how that creativity comes through to it, in our lives.
Oh, absolutely. And I think being able to adapt and think on your feet is also something that you get from living on the land.
Do you have a particular memory from the land that when you sit and stop pops in your brain?
My favourite memories are I had a dog, a Kelpie. His name was Smiley, and because he smiled. And he would ride around with me on the ag bike. I had an ag bike which wasn't mine, it was actually the farm's ag bike, but it was massive. The fuel tank was this big. And I used to ride it just and I was only little and had my dog on the back, and I used to head up to the very back corner of the property all on my own, and no one ever came looking for me, or there was never a time. It was just, I guess, when it got dark, it was time to come home. And I just remember having an incredible sense of freedom and adventure from that.
It's hard to explain that freedom now, isn't it? I mean, you look at a lot of parents now, if you're disappeared for more than an hour, the air raid sirens are going out.
Yes.
Talking about motorbikes, great. My father's business partner, his son Bozo, and I used to clear out and be gone and take food with us and come home literally when it was dark. But I know some of the things that we did, we're lucky we're not dead.
I know, same.
But it was fun.
Oh, absolutely. And we even to nicking watermelons and putting them in the river and floating them down the river and catching them further down, so that we had we weren't hungry or anything. It was just fun.
I remember Dad used to put watermelon seeds into the creek beds. Oh. So when the water would flow through, all the watermelons would grow.
Yeah.
And that was one of the jobs of going collecting them. And I can remember there was a cross-pollination between these wild melons and the watermelons, and everyone dove into them, cut them up, and they looked a bit pale. And we're like, oh, well, it must be this. They're the sourest thing I ever had in my life.
Yeah.
So from the land, you became a paramedic?
No, I took a little detour.
Took a little detour?
Yeah, I fell in love with a local boy in Inverell, and my parents, our family policy is you either earn or learn.
Yep.
So I had actually been accepted into university, and I decided that I didn't want to go because I was in love with this local fellow. And so my father said, you know, you either earn or learn. You're not just hanging around. You need to do something about that. And so I said, fine. So I walked down the main street of Inverell, and I came back with a hairdressing apprenticeship. And I really had not, I never had a passion to be a hairdresser, but if that meant I could stay, I would do it. And I did, and I did it for quite a while, and for I think 10 years, something like that. And I used to cut the local paramedics' hair, and one of them used to say to me, and he's such a lovely fellow, he's still around today, and he said to me, you know, there's no place for women in the ambulance. Well, that was like a red rag to a bull for me.
You appear to me that you appear that you love someone to tell you can't do something.
It's 100%. And so that was like, oh, right, okay, well, I will change that. So I went and did a first aid course, became, after work, walked home past the ambulance station, would call in and do my first aid course, and was top of the class. And the officer in charge said to me, there is actually a calling for paramedics. Why don't you apply? And I said, oh, okay then, well, I will. I'm off on that day. So I didn't have to take a day off when the interviews came. And I'd never driven a 2-ton vehicle, but I thought I'll have a go anyway. And I actually wasn't fit enough to run either. But I went, and we turned up at the Toowoomba showgrounds, and I did all of those things, and became Toowoomba's first female paramedic.
In your challenge mindset, did you feel like you'd achieved something just even ticking that box?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was excited, and I was terrified to start with, but also excited. And when I finished up, a couple of people said, you know, you're blonde and got fluffy hair. There's no, what are you doing? You know, and I thought, no, I'll show you. I can do this. This is great. And funnily enough, I actually fell in love with it, and I loved it. It was an awesome
how long did you do it for?
11 years.
Did that shape your mindset even more from that country to then earn or learn to then taking a challenge? How did that change your mindset towards even looking towards working for yourself?
Do you know what it does? It changes your what you worry about. So I became a big picture person, and you worry less about the small things, because really, if it doesn't matter in a year's time, does it really matter?
Yeah. Can you control? It's always one of mine.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
One of my great friends, he says to us when training us in sport and things, he said, you can only control what you can control.
Yeah. Yeah.
It fascinates me how everyone sweats these things, but you look back in 12 months' time and I almost gave myself an ulcer for no reason.
Yep, 100%.
So how did you go from then being a paramedic and then going, you know, I actually want to work for myself?
After a few years, my husband and I, Blair and I, decided that we wanted to have children, and when we did, we had twins. And I couldn't jump out of tall buildings in single bounds anymore, not because of any other reason that we were at Goondiwindi at the time, and we were pretty much a third of the workforce there. He was a paramedic at the same time as me. And so that meant we were on call. And so it was just impossible trying to hand babies over the fence in the middle of the night so that he could jump in a car and get going, you know. And so I decided I would take a year off, wait and see how I went when they were a little older. I ended up saying to my parents, you know, they're graphic designers here in Toowoomba, and I said to them, look, if you've got any overflow work, send it my way and I'll do it for you. Well, within about a month, I had to go and get my own ABN because I had that much work out at Gundawindi that I couldn't
take the overflow.
I couldn't take the overflow anyway.
Had you always had a passion for the design side?
Always. I've been drawing since I could hold a pencil, and I've been making concepts and making design boards and cutting up magazines and putting out ideas. Yeah, right from the beginning.
Was that the actual birth of the Vigour Graphics name? Was at the very beginning?
Yep. So that was 19 years ago.
Yep.
And I decided I would work from home so that I could raise these little kids. And I had a studio built in the side and kind of in the paddock of where we lived. I worked from there, and to start with there was a few naysayers because people didn't work from home then. It was like, when you're going to get a real job, you know, or is it just a hobby? Or you're lucky you get to stay at home because your husband looks after you. Those kinds of things. And I was deadly serious and looking after hundreds of clients.
Isn't it amazing what people can't see, they judge?
Yeah.
Can't help themselves.
Yep.
And what it looks like. It's happened a bit with here. It's happened a little bit with the lock and key side too. People, and it's not a negative, it's just human nature to go, well, they're never going to make that work.
No, that's right. And they think that you're not serious.
And if you go back to your earlier comment about red rag to a bull, I'm assuming all those little comments you went, you know, bugger you lot.
Absolutely. And I'm still here.
Was Vigour Graphics the only business you've ever owned?
No, I've owned a hair salon before that. I've owned a pearl jewellery business, and I just started a new business called Brand Suite.
Yes, we'll touch on Brand Suite later. I want to hear more about it. With the ventures, obviously the hair salon, you had to have employed staff.
Yes.
With the pearls, did you have a team?
No.
So when you were getting heavy into the graphics, obviously employing staff for that from when you're working from home is a challenge. Do you remember your first staff member?
Yes. Yeah. It worked really well. Like when she first came, she kind of looked around and thought, this is peculiar working from home. But we had a fully fitted out studio, and it's, apart from looking out across the house that you can see that the house was there, you would never know. And I've always worked from studios. Even when we moved from Gundawindi, we then went to Highfields, and now we've got studio in the front yard there. And it's vital for me because with kids coming and going, cooking bacon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you're trying to have clients and stuff like that, it just doesn't work. So you've got to have...
I'm trying to imagine you saying, look, can we just pause this meeting for a second? I have to go get something out of the oven.
Exactly. Or having a child running into the studio with a flaming bag of popcorn that they've burnt in the microwave, and Mum, throwing it at me, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. So did you close that meeting?
Yes, very quickly.
If you don't sign up, the next bag's for you.
Yes. So
if you had to give someone some advice on employing a team member for the very first time,
yes,
what would it be?
It would be employ on their personality, not on their skill set, because you can train them. And if it's the right person, like I have the right people around me, it just makes it a dream. And they're easy to get along with, and there's no problems, and it's, yeah.
Have you had to deal much with the other side where you've had to go, you're not a fit?
I had one who was nicking my clients and doing them at home. And
well, that's a fun way to stay unemployed.
It is, yes. And so I just set her free.
And if you handle it all right, it's actually very low fuss. Everyone just moves on and the world goes on its way. And moving on from the staff, I mean, I know it here because we run significant accounts with people. Some of the bits that we've discussed previously is talking about getting paid and getting paid on time and how we handle people. Can you give us some insight into your experiences in dealing with the almighty dollar and getting paid for your work?
I had a big one which nearly put me to the wall probably 10 years ago, and that was a client that did a massive print bill with me, and because I have to pay for, I have accounts with my suppliers, my print suppliers, but obviously if I haven't paid my bill at the end of the month, they're not going to extend credit. And they had this incredible print bill which I'd organised and was carrying, and they disappeared and went on 6 weeks holiday after the due date. So we were going into like 90 days, and I was carrying this bill, and I had to juggle paying my printers so that I could print again, so I could get more printing done. And they just disappeared. But they did eventually pay, but I can tell you I broke some sweat.
So like here now, if it's an ongoing customer we've known for quite some time, we run accounts, which is your end of month side of things. But newer customers now playing larger orders with us is usually 50% up front.
100%.
Absolutely, because it pays for the job. I would assume you would do something similar to that.
Exactly the same. So for us, it's 50% up front and then the balance at the end of the job. Or if they are a micro business and they really want a website, we're happy to do payment plans, but it's really strict.
Yeah, we're a little bit the same, especially the micro businesses. At times, I've had a couple of them who are flat out ordering, being order a pair of boots.
Yep.
So I did the same thing. I said, look, as long as I seal this by the end of the month, it's okay. Just tick along with it.
Yeah.
Because I always have this theory that eventually that micro business is going to turn into a small business, and then if they turn into a medium large business, well, we're on our way with them.
Exactly.
If you're from around here, chances are you've worn something that we've embroidered, printed, pressed, or branded. Whatever it is, we just get it done. So if you need something, drop in and see us. So one of the things you've built is a reputation for giving back, mentoring others, especially in the networking space. So I've seen you at networking events, get that new person and go, come with me, I'll introduce you to everyone. Why is that so important, the networking side, rather than just trying to get sales?
So the first thing I've always believed is that once your business is about money, you will fail. Business is about building relationships and networking with and surrounding yourself with the right people, and the money will flow by osmosis naturally. So I really like to mentor people. I've got lots of knowledge to share, and I also am not afraid of what I do, because one, I know it's right because I've been in the industry for so long and I'm still here. Two, I don't have that coming from a place of scarcity mentality.
Especially with networking, it's a real challenge. I often find, and Jodie and I talked about it, there's sort of one or two types of people you get. You get the person who's micro business out by themselves, trying to meet everyone, and they've got business cards flying everywhere. You've got the established owners who know each other, will say hello to those first few people, then go and have a beer with someone. And then there's the third one, which Jodie and I touched on, which is they've been sent by their boss.
Yes. Yep.
They're either a scared rabbit or they just really don't want to be there. Do you have tips for someone like that who's walking into the maelstrom of 150 people, and how to just calm the nerves and go and say hello to someone?
I think believe in themselves. What they know is very valuable, even if they don't think what they know is valuable. And also, I think go and introduce yourself to someone that you don't know, and be interested in them. No, don't be the most interesting person in the room. Be the most interested person in the room, and that is how you will find out the most amazing things and build the most amazing relationships.
One of the things I've learned is it's some of my greatest friends now come from simply networking. But just because you meet someone networking doesn't mean you're necessarily going to do business with them or even be friends with them. You're still going to have the relationship. How do you follow up on someone that has created interest from you after the event?
Usually a phone call and ask them for a coffee.
Yep.
I mean,
Caffeine is great.
it is, and that's the nuts and bolts of it, and just being your authentic self.
And that's probably where the mentorship comes from me. I find I actually have better relationships with people who are trying to build themselves than I do with someone who is already laid out, established and ready to go. I think that's part of my personality, that I just like to be able to help them. And it's not about trying to explain a tax system to them. It's going, okay, what's your plan? I think I say that 10 times a day to people. What's your plan?
Yeah.
And if they immediately say I don't have one, I'm going, okay, can I help you get one? Because they can.
And you would be like me, that you would get businesses that are startups, and the excitement they have is just contagious. I just love it when they come in and say, look, we're thinking of starting a business and this is what we want to call it and this is what we want to do. And we go, whoa. Let's revisit, let's work it out, let's make this happen, but let's do the steps so that you don't have to undo anything later. For example, getting a good logo and those kinds of things.
One of the first things I start with is I go, do you have an accountant? Oh, we've talked to a couple of people. I said, before you go any further, go and secure yourself an accountant. Talk to them about what you want to do. They'll help you with a business plan and tell you, do you have the capital to get going? Because I see these people appear with 50 grand going, we're going to do all this, and it's all gone on vehicles and uniforms and the marketing plan they've come up with themselves, but they haven't even secured a customer yet. And that's where I find them interesting. And it's not a negative at them, it's finding that ability for them to be able to learn and help, so they avoid a bit of that pain. They're still going to have it, but dollars in the door first before you look pretty. That's one of my things. Running on from the networking and being around everyone and helping all these people and being in your life, running a business can take its toll, because you've got to be a wife, you've got to be a parent, you've got to look after yourself. How have you managed to stay grounded and look after yourself from a mental side and an emotional side?
So I paint. I've always been arty.
Yep.
And so I like to paint. I paint in a sketchbook and go and have coffee and paint with girlfriends in a coffee shop, through to having little exhibitions on the in-studio art trail with the Crow's Nest artists, and even through to doing workshops and stuff with the artists in Pittsworth. And I have a great network of arty friends, and that's how I look after my mental health. Also, this is so cliche, but I actually really love my job.
Yeah.
So I love it like the day I started 19 years ago. So it's not hard.
Do you think there's power in the word no?
Yes.
Can you expand on what you think?
I think no is the ability to be able to also go set boundaries for self-preservation. Yeah.
Because going on from that, you and I both had a little bit of it. You've had more of it, but there are times when people aren't terribly kind, and you've been pushed around, and bullying is probably the right word.
Yep.
Can you give us some insight into what that experience was like?
For me, in 19 years, I have never been treated so badly as to how I was 2 years ago. And out of that, it has made me more determined to succeed. It has also taught me that not everyone is who you think they are.
Not everyone is your friend.
No, not everyone is your friend. And it has also taught me to surround yourself with good people. You've seen my comments that I put up, that I'm putting up on sort of on a daily basis, and that's
is a big part to your circle and your friends. And if you are having some trouble that's knocking you around, if you've got the right base around you, guaranteed one of them is going to look at you and go, "Mate, you're right."
Yeah.
And you got to, and if you trust them enough, you can tell them, say, "Well, this is what's happened."
Yeah.
Because I mean, I was bullied at school. I haven't had much of it since, but it took me years to get over it.
Yeah.
And that's where I sort of look at what you're saying around, you've created this circle of besties, as you call it, and the way that you can detach yourself a little bit of it. But there is something to truly loving what you do, even if it's you go through a period where it's not much fun and the people around you aren't being the greatest humans. When you truly love what you do, it's okay.
Absolutely. It makes it easier when you love what you do.
And it's things for me like I keep a line in my head that says, "Don't let them rent space."
Exactly. 100%. And also, the new one that's coming around called Let Them, is a new lady who has started this new social media thing going around called Let Them. So if someone is treating you badly or things aren't going your way, you let them. If they are going to leave, let them. The theory behind it is extraordinary, and it's about let them.
Age is a horrible thing because you look at the stuff that affected you. Talk about let them affected you at 20. That affects you now. I used to be absolutely paranoid about how I looked, what people said about me, all those sorts of things. Scroll forward to now, I really don't have the energy for it.
Yeah.
That's a way of saying is probably let them. I hear it and I just ignore it and just move on because my focus is the shop, my focus is my kids and my wife and Lock and Key and our other ventures. That's the bit that I'm worried about.
Yeah, and I also think if they've got that much time, they're obviously not doing much in their business.
Absolutely, and I've seen it happen that I've taken business from people who have had the things to do, and you're like, well, that's probably my win, and I don't need to shout this from the rafters. In here, that's my win.
Exactly, 100%. It's sweet.
Going back on your business journey, what's the one thing you wished you'd learned or done sooner?
I should have delegated sooner, because the people who I work with now, like for example, Jemay and Irish and Laurie are incredibly clever. In fact, they are clever. They're more clever than me, and I should have let them earlier.
Isn't it amazing? One thing about adding Michael to the mix here, he's very good on us. He's incredible at managing people and their personalities and so forth. I just don't have the patience, I freely admit it. And it's amazing having those wonderful team members who can actually grab the inner parts of your business and go forward. Are you finding that starting to grow your business for you?
Absolutely. And it means that I don't need to micromanage them. I've never been a micromanager, but I've always been nothing leaves the building until I've checked it. And now it's much looser because I can trust they're highly skilled.
One of the things I learnt actually from my brother, it's called the 80% solution.
Yeah.
And it was, if you can get someone to complete it at 80 to 90% of how you want it done, so that's an 8 or 9 out of 10 every single time, is it okay? And you ask most people, they go, yes. So I had to adopt some of I ended up in the base in pediatrics, looking up at the roof, drinking the pink goop because I gave myself a panic attack in here. Because I did everything. I had to do everything.
Yeah.
Learning to delegate from that space and then realising that if they're all delivering an 8 or 9 out of 10, I'm going to have the happiest customers in Toowoomba. So what am I worrying about? So the podcast is called The Hard Way because we often learn our biggest lessons the hard way. If you have a personal hard way lesson that you would share with everyone, what is it?
Just work hard and work silently and let your success be your noise.
It's fantastic. It is, because it is about your work will show your value. You don't have to tell everyone.
Exactly.
Says me, who spends half his life on social media. So one of the things we do is that every guest that we have on here goes into the book and sees the question that was written by the previous guest. You actually get to go into this.
I love that.
Have a look at it.
Oh, okay, and I've got to answer.
You've got to answer the question and then write your own in afterwards.
All right. Wow. Okay, so the question I've been given is, do you believe in you? Yes, I do. 100%.
Why?
Because I am capable, I am determined, I am smart, and I have the right people around me to help me make it happen, and I do believe in me.
So you get to pick up a pen now and lay your question in.
All right.
Your handwriting is fantastic, by the way. Mine looks like a cat died on it. Right, now we've written your question in. What's up next is a little section that we have about what's happening for you, what's happening for Vigour Graphics. This is where we get to talk about Brand Suite.
Okay, so after 30 years of being in business, I decided that small businesses were paying for all different pieces of software to make their business work. So they were paying for MailChimp or Kajabi or funnels or CRMs or all these different programs, and some of them they didn't talk to each other for one. So then you had to get Zapier to make them chat to each other. I was looking for a solution to bolster all these things together so that a business can purchase them in one subscription, and that is far less than all these others that would smoothly integrate all together.
So did you start this for other businesses, or did you actually start this for yourself originally?
Both.
Yeah, interesting.
Yes. So
From someone who's going through the pain of trying to work out how I put all the bits together.
yeah. Yes, so that's what we were doing, was we had bits all over the shop, and so we were trying to work out how we could bolt these all together. So we started on a baseline of a white label product, and now we have built on top of that and plugged it in. Now, I haven't done this entirely on my own. I've done this with a fantastic group of people who have helped me. And we've launched Brand Suite. And Brand Suite is a CRM, your marketing automation, and your lead generation all in one. And it's brilliant.
Is anyone using it yet?
Yes?
Sounds like you need to give me a presentation because I've already talked about I need a solution.
Yeah.
Whether it works or not, I still need a solution.
Absolutely.
You also have some upcoming workshops.
Yes, myself, Lisa Clark, and Richard Watts, and Phil Burke. We're going to be running back over at the old dairy. We're going to be doing lunchtime workshops to do with all completely free. People come and do it over their lunch. They bring their own lunch, and they will be monthly. People can come, network, connect, but mostly learn something good. We want them to go away with something actionable, something they can not just tuck it in their folder and maybe look at it another time and finally use it for scribble paper. We want stuff that's really good,
Give a look on my
valuable
desk,
stuff.
can't you? I do that.
And some of it will be Brand Suite related, meaning that when it's my turn, I'll teach them about funnels and about offering lead magnets and those kinds of things, which really floats my boat. They're really exciting things.
I can tell. Just saying, I can.
But they could do that in their own system. Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. The Hard Way podcast was designed just to try and give good information out to people who are trying to get started, to try and find something. If you could tell your younger self something, what would you finish on?
I would say to any business person, but also to myself earlier in the piece, is develop a reoccurring income.
Yep.
Develop something that makes money for you while you sleep, meaning that it is some form of income that stops you having an ebb and flow of income. It has a baseline, and then you can go up, but you never go below.
That's really cool. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Appreciate having you on. If you're looking for Natalie, just Google Vigour Graphics, and sounds like you need to Google Brand Suite as well by the sound of it. It's going to be pretty cool. If you're looking for us, please look for us, subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, and on Apple. Thank you everyone for listening to The Hard Way.